Well, here we are again, folks. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And beautiful, a beautiful saying by Solomon, the king that had been on the earth for several years. He had been a pretty good king. He had a lot of wisdom. He had amassed, though, great wealth and fortunes that was in error. It was a great error in his life, what he did, because he did not have in place a system that would keep, democratic system, that would keep everything going when he left. He had so many wives and so many children. There was no real heir. There was no real anybody to take over for him. No real heir to take over for him. And so when he left, he left. He said, I'm going to leave everything I got to a fool. I've amassed all of this, and I'm fixing to leave it to a fool. And when he wrote Proverbs, he wrote things he did not do himself. You know what it was like? He's like a man with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he says to his boy, never smoke. You don't ever smoke. I don't ever want to see you smoking. You don't smoke. Or a man, he smokes and he drinks. And he says, son, I don't ever want to see you smoke or drink. But he's smoking and drinking. Well, Solomon had all of this wisdom that he told us about and left here in this book, which is true wisdom, but he didn't follow it himself. He walked around with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth saying, don't smoke, and yet he was smoking. And look at verse 2. There's a time to be born. There's a time to die. There's a time to plant and a time to pluck up. You know what? You know what Solomon knew? He knew common sense. He knew common sense, what God designed when he designed the Garden of Eden. Now he's explaining the Garden of Eden here. All right, there's a time to kill, a time to heal. There's a time to break down and a time to build up. There is a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. Do you know what time it is in your life? Do you know where you stand with God? Do you know what time it is in your life? Is it a time in your life right now to tear down the things of the world in your life and to build the things of God? Is it a time to plow under the garden that you've grown and grow a garden, a new one in God? Do you know what you will do? You will reap from the seed of that garden that you planted in the world. You will reap from the seed of that garden throughout your life. I guarantee it. I'll guarantee it. Right now I'm reaping some things from the past. There's somebody who brought up some slander toward myself and my family that has dug up the past. I care not. Hey, I was a hellion before I got saved. I had a garden out there that was full of the things of the devil and the seed that I sowed in the devil. Now, I've been saved 40 years. Do you know what? I'm still reaping from that old garden. Every now and then, something will crop up from an old seed. It's like a seed laying in the desert. It can lay there 40 years. If it doesn't ever get any rain or moisture, it's not coming up. But you give it a little rain, and boy, it'll blossom like poof, there it is. You know what the good part of that's going to be? Leave it alone, it's going to die. If it's only going to get rain every 15 or 20 years, it's going to pop up. And then just a little bit, the sun's going to scorch it and it'll die. And when it dies, it's gone again. So don't worry about it. Don't let those things bother you that come out of the past. There is a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones up. There is a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Just a little while ago, about an hour ago, I was talking on one of these YouTube things about cleaning up the corners. I did a 5-star thing. And in that 5-star thing, it said that I planted a garden years ago. And in that garden, I planted a thing called something against my brother. And I forgot the word that I used, but anyway. And if I hold this against my brother or something, and I haven't taken care of it, that's a garden, that's planted in the garden I need to plow under. But I can't plow it under until I make sure all of the wild seed has been taken care of. And once I take care of a lot of that wild seed, then I can plow that thing under. But if the Lord shows me a wild seed that's going to be hurt if I keep it, then I need to get rid of it. I need to plow it under. So, and then I can embrace. There's a time for cast away stones, a time to gather, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. I embraced the things of the world before I got saved. Now, when I got saved 30-something years ago, it was a time for me to turn loose that embracing of the world and embrace a new system. Embrace the Word of God, put it in my heart, write it on the tablets of my heart. Chapter 7 of Proverbs, it talks about that. And there is a time to get, and there is a time to lose. There is a time to keep, and a time to cast away. Verse 7, there is a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to keep silent, and a time to speak. And one of the hardest things in my life have I not learned yet. 30-something years of being saved, I haven't learned it yet. Keep my mouth shut. Keep my mouth shut. Peter, keep your mouth shut. I'm walking by two people. They're in a conversation. I'm walking by. Nobody asked me for my 2 cents worth. This is a 2-man conversation. But my ears hear that conversation, and my mouth starts running before my brain got put in gear. Nobody's talking to me. That's not my conversation. I have no business, just because I'm walking by, I've got no business to throw my 2 cents worth in there. Just keep my mouth shut. There's a time to speak, and there's a time to keep your mouth shut. I like this word, rend. A time to rend. You know what that's like? The ringing of the nose. Do you know what the ringing of the nose bringeth forth? Blood. You ring a man's nose and you bring forth blood. It breaks some little vocabularies in the nose and you get a terrible nosebleed because you rended that nose. Well, I need my nose rended often because I'm walking by somebody, I stick my 2 cents worth in. Nobody asked me for it. Learn to keep your mouth shut, Peter. I'm trying. I've only been trying for 69 years. I don't succeed.